denial with instructions on what to do now. So I'm just very concerned about why I'm being made to take my daughter to another town, and why I'm being denied when I've been approved 2 years previously.
We're 4.3 miles from an elementary school, Forest Hills over here. We're 6 point couple miles from Northside. We don't care, Northside, Forest Hills, 13.5 versus 4.3, okay? It's crazy. The zone hasn't been changed since 2016. The schools all have pretty much the same amount of kids in them, except for Cottersville has more than Willowbrook schools do. We've done all our research. We're not asking for anything. We just don't want to have to go. I don't want to put my granddaughter on the bus at 6:19 in the morning, okay? And over an hour ride to school at age 7 is crazy. So we're just,
at this point, my daughter requires IEP services through the school, and if that wasn't the case, I'd be pulling her out of school and homeschooling her because of this. It's just...
Just want to make sure she sees this, Ms. Cook. We'll follow up with you. We appreciate it. Thank you. Moving on to old business, Ms. Simmons, the consideration of naming the football stadium with community input.
yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Is Jessica here?
She is.
Hi, everyone. Does she want to discuss that, or do you want me to go?
Can you hear?
Okay.
Did you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We're working on the microphone.
Okay, so a committee...
To hear me now, clear enough. I don't mind going forward, but if Jessica can, if she wants to give the input for me, that's perfectly okay.
Gotcha, Ms.
Yes.
Simmons. It looks like she's ready for that. Thank you.
Yes, I can do that. So a committee was formed. Mrs. Simmons formed the committee. The committee met, I think it was last week,
Tuesday.
the 18th, right. So we met on the 18th and we discussed the renaming of the stadium and field. And the decision was that the majority felt like we needed to have some type of criteria, pretty much like we do the Hall of Fame, have some type of criteria and not just say, okay, we're going to rename the field after, two persons, which is great. It is not anything against the persons that were brought, but we wanted to the committee wanted to make sure that it was all inclusive, that everyone had an opportunity to put their name in the hat and then come up with some type of criteria for how to do that. Similar to the Coaches Hall of Fame. So that's how how we left the meeting, and we were going to come back together and we were going to put some criteria together in order for people to nominate people for the Hall of Fame. And then we would have maybe some type of placard or something that we could place on the field and place those names, like have a running list of names that would go on the field. So the decision was made not to rename the stadium. It would still be the Cougar Stadium, but just think about how we can honor and just be all inclusive of others who have, done a great job in our county with our sports teams. And Ms. Simmons, if you would like to add anything to that, that would be great.
One of the things that we were more interested in is once we set forward and go forward with naming, not naming the stadium, but just recognizing coaches, if we step forward and go with this, 10 years down the line, someone else come and make a very impressive contribute to our district, as a coach. We don't want to have that person left out. So we want to be able to have more of a memorial where it can be continuous, and it doesn't have to stop with 2 people, but continue with the legacy. So once we get together, we're coming up with a rubrics, and once we form a rubrics for the occasion, we're going to interview probably some coaches, get some feedback. We're going to get the community involved, and once we do that, we're probably going to have the board more involved with the decision making as well. But we just want to foam and then have everyone come together and make a decision that is going to be more of a collaborative decision that everyone will get a part of. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Are there any questions on the consideration of naming the football stadium? Ms. Simmons, did the committee discuss any change to policy with that criteria or with those parameters that y'all were talking about, or is the policy, existing policy, the main?
At this time, no, because we do have an attorney on the committee with us. So we have discussed all of that. So if there is any changes, we can't make changes until the board meets again with the policy committee. So right now, we have not seen any changes, but like I said, I will keep you abreast on what's going on.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Moving on to new business, Ms. Williams, the overnight out-of-town field trip request.
Greetings, board members. I do have an overnight field trip request on behalf of Mr. Tommy Finnegan with the Band of Blue. They have been asked to march in the Mardi Gras parade in February. It's called the Crew of Endymion Parade. You know, Mardi Gras has lots and lots of different types of parades, and this particular parade showcase marching bands from all over the world. This will be their fourth time being invited to this prestigious parade, and it will take place on February 7th. They will leave and they will return on February 11th. There are 130 students who will be attending. There are 50 adults who will be attending as well, for a total of 180 persons that will be attending this trip. And Mr. Finnegan has outlined, he has an entire booklet with, this is the Mardi Gras Parade booklet that he has, if any of you would like to see this, but it is well outlined. He has a schedule for what they will be doing each and every day. He has their accommodations outlined. He has their expectations, student expectations for behavior, the rules for the trip, just a plethora, how they handle their luggage. It is very well planned and thought out. So we're asking for your approval of this overnight field trip for the Band of Blue.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the overnight field trip for the Band of Blue for the dates of 2/7/24 through 2/11/24.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the Band of Blue overnight out-of-town field trip request. Are there any questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. And if, don't go too far.
Okay.
Because we're going to move on to policy items, beginning with Mr. Murdock.
Yes, we got a policy update that we discussed. Policy BD Organization Board, second reading. You want to do that in first?
Sure. Do we have copies of that? I don't have. Is that?
I have my copy from the policy committee meeting.
Okay.
They were passed out. If
Okay.
I can share it, or if you have questions.
Do you have any, is there any questions about policy BD or updates, Mr. Murdock?
Yes. It is what it is.
So, just for clarification, was this policy ever passed?
Yes, by the previous board.
Okay. And so then the second reading that we have now, were there any changes made to that? Wouldn't there have had to have been changes made to it in order for us to bring it back up to vote on again?
I think the reason why is because this is a law. This is something that we have to do. I think it was like June 26th, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Hamilton, is that correct? Wasn't it June 26th, the paid parental leave?
No. We're on two different ones.
Oh, okay.
This is the election of officers for the board.
Okay,
We'll get to that one in just a second, Ms. Williams.
gotcha.
So policy BD is organization of the board. It is the second reading, and it's being presented tonight because.
I mean, in order for us to have, in order for us to have brought it up again, there would have had to have been some change made if it had already been passed. So my question is, the policy that Ms. Lynn has, I think is the original policy with no changes. So are we voting on the original policy, or are we voting on a policy with changes?
Sharon, isn't this the policy that you requested that it go back on the agenda?
Correct. The organization of the board in January had a tie split vote, 3-3. It was a motion that was made to amend the policy organization of the board that was outlined in January, and it had a split vote. I was not a part of the policy committee meeting that you guys had in July, but it was my understanding, based on my viewing of the meeting, that you guys were to bring that back before the board.
If appropriate, I have a suggestion for a motion. If it's appropriate, let me know. I would like to make a motion that we amend the policy BD as I'm reading it. And the line that I would like to amend is the chairman and the vice chair will be elected annually instead of biannually at the end of the board's regular meeting in November, because that's when elections are held, so that we don't fall into the category of having, not having a chair. And they would serve for a term of 1 year or until their successor has been elected. Officers may succeed, and none of that else would change themselves in the same office. So it's simply making it where we have a chairman and a vice chair election annually in November.
Just for clarification from our attorneys, is that motion appropriate?
Does she have a mic, please? Can you give her a mic, please?
Why move it in November?
Your motion should be for 1 year terms, elected in November, and to be effective whatever the date. So sorry. November, after elections, motion 1 year, November. And I'm not sure if it's a first read or a second read, because I'm not sure how that happened, but this can be your motion.
Okay? So,
Go ahead, Mr. Murray.
Is there another issue, though?
As of right now, we don't have a motion on the table. There was just direction.
You want a second and then do the...
well, yeah, she made a motion, so I second her motion.
The motion has been made and seconded to amend policy BD as described, changing biannual to annual, and the decision for that selection to be done after Election Day. Are there any questions?
Yes, why move the election date to November when you'll have a board member that's already on the board that's been there for a year, so we could just leave it in January and still do the same thing? Why move it up, for that reason?
Well-
I mean, what reason would that be? Why would we want to move it to November? That's my question.
The reason for that, Mr. Murdoch, is because just like we had this past year, the chairman did not win re-election, so we went 2 months without a chairman before we had the vote. So if we had the vote at the end of November after the results have been certified, then we don't run into that again.
We had a vice chair, and that's what the vice chair do. So I don't see the problem.
So what happens if in the next election, it is the chairman and the vice chair and neither one of them win re-election?
We have to cross that bridge when we get there. I just don't see the reason.
Any other questions?
Mr. Murdahl, what I would say, just as an outside perspective, electing your officers, whether it's 1 year or 2 year, that's up to the board. That's up to the board totally. But closer in time to the election is typical for those very reasons. Because if your chair and vice chair both are not reelected and aren't there, then you have an issue. But this is absolutely a board issue, not a legal issue.
If someone is elected, we'd have to change the policy because they're not supposed to be able to run for office unless they've been on the board for a year. So even if you're a new board member, you wouldn't be able to hold that office according to our policy. So we'll have to change all that policy in order to make this work.
That doesn't have anything to do with it, Mr. Murdoch.
Why?
Because if you've got, just for instance, if in the next November election, I think there are either 3 or 4 seats that are up, that means there are 3 that don't change. So then you have people that could be chairman and vice chairman. It doesn't have anything to do with changing new board members being eligible.
That's the same thing in
Clarification,
January.
pardon me, Mr. Wright, we have 4 that will be up for reelection in November of 2024. Yeah, all the odd seats. So 1, 3, 5, and 7.
5 and 7. I don't see the reason, but whatever.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Ms. Simmons?
Nay.
And all others, 2 opposed? Thank you. Mr. Mark, do you want to do the,
Yeah, paid parental leave. I'll let Ms. Williams.
Basically, this particular policy is state law. That's what I was saying. I think it was June 26 that it's required that we have a paid parental leave policy. And I think from my recollection, we went through this policy at the last meeting, and I don't recall and I don't see any changes that were made to what was written.
as this is a second reading of this policy, there was discussion and some specifics that was made to that policy since the first reading, I think. And I don't have a copy of the policy before me, but we did make specific some parameters, I think.
Okay, I don't have those changes because I don't have any, because it would have been red, marked in red, and I don't have those changes.
And I'm not aware of any changes being made.
Was there any clarification that we wanted to provide on that policy as to when the paid parental leave could occur if there was a discrepancy on when a child was born, or when that parent could take parental leave?
My understanding was y'all were gonna allow it to go between years, contract years. I don't think that was a change from the policy.
I just want to make that clear in case, go ahead, Ms.
Because that's how it was passed initially.
Okay.
I think it was clear cut. I don't think it was any changes because basically the state required us to take over this policy. So I don't think it was any changes.
Okay, I thought that we did have, the board made a decision.
I think the one issue was you had one board member who did not agree with it going between contract years, but 6 of you voted for it to go between contract years, and I don't think there was anything that needed to be done based on those. So.
Got it, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the second reading for the policy on paid parental leave?
Madam Chair, I make a motion we approve a policy on paid parental leave.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Are there any questions? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Motion passes. Oh, I'm sorry. All those opposed? One. Thank you. Mr. Murdock, do you have any other updates on policy?
That's it, all I have here.
Do we have a new policy committee meeting set?
Not yet. I'll let Patricia know.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Williams. The superintendent report, Ms. Jones?
Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Before I give my update, and it's very brief today, and I don't think, you may not even have the PowerPoint, but you all should have a copy of the PowerPoint. But before I get into that, I just wanted to introduce our new Buildings and Grounds Director, Mr. Eric Hamilton. If you would stand, please. Mr. Hamilton, we're so happy to have him on board. He's a native of Colleton County from the Green Pond community, and he comes to us with a plethora of knowledge from Trident Technical College, and we're so happy to have him aboard. So if you would give him a round of applause. He hit the ground running, so I know he is going to do a fantastic job. We're very happy to have him.
Welcome.
Yes. So I just wanted to give you a few updates. Like I said, I don't think we don't have the PowerPoint for the public, but it's very brief. Beginning of the year, you see there, if you would turn to the first part of that PowerPoint I did at the last meeting. So if you would just flip back until you see where it says update 7/25/23, and it says beginning of the year, BOY. If you flip to that page, I just wanted to reiterate that I've conducted beginning of the year meetings with each of our building level principals. I finished today with our high school and middle school principals. I'll finish those meetings on tomorrow. I have one more principal to meet with, and all of the meetings will be completed. Just wanted to let you know that I feel really good about the beginning of the school year. We discussed their staffing needs, which there are some at some of our schools, and I'm sure Ms. Hamilton will give some information about that. We discussed their instructional schedules. We discussed plans for PBIS and starting the year off strong. Making sure that students were aware of procedures and protocols for the school year. We talked about duty rosters and just other pertinent information for the beginning of the year. We are supporting our schools. The district is supporting the schools, and I just want to interject here that we're asking parents to please be aware that our staff is anxiously awaiting our students, and we ask that all students attend school on the first day of school, and that first day is August 7th. And we're planning, and we're just excited about the beginning of the school year. And then the second slide there talks about a principal academy. I just wanted you to be aware that our school leaders will be participating in a principal's academy in conjunction with Curriculum Associates. Curriculum Associates is the company that we use for our formative assessment and our instructional tool through iReady. I know you've heard us talk about the iReady tool that we use. Well, we will begin an academy next week with a training for our district leaders, and then on Monday, we'll have the training for the district leaders on Monday, and then a training session with each of our school leadership teams. And they will meet with our schools monthly to talk about data, to talk about how we can develop a plan for acceleration of our students, how we can use that personalized instructional plan with fidelity. And we are just very excited to be a part of this Principal Academy because a few school districts are chosen to be in this academy. So we're excited about this, and we look for great things academically from our students And this will help our principals and our school leaders to really delve deep into the data in order to help our students improve at a faster rate. And then I wanted to update you on our staggered start dates for pre-K and kindergarten. The State Department of Education has allowed districts to complete a waiver, and we completed that waiver maybe about two or 3 weeks ago to allow a smooth transition to school for our pre-K and kindergarten students. So these students will attend school the first 5 days according to the first letter of their last name. And that schedule has been developed, and the schedule has been shared with each of our schools that have pre-K and kindergarten. They will be sharing that with parents, and we will be posting that schedule on our district's website. Those days will be used, teachers will be able to do the required assessments that the state requires, and also just be able to meet with students that age in small groups to get them acclimated to the school so that they can have a successful school year. And then lastly, yes,
may I ask you a question
questions?
about
Yes.
it? Yeah. And that's just to ask, we have to apply for that to occur from the State Department.
Yes.
And so that is some variation a little bit. Is there a time frame in which we can apply, and can parents, I mean, does that have to be done during the summer prior to the school year? And is it something that you think that parents can more regularly anticipate? Because, you know, it can be a challenge if you're thinking, okay, my kid's going to school on Monday, and then you realize, okay, I've got to continue my childcare throughout that week.
Yeah, well, you know, in years past, that it was a staple. It was something that we did. And then, you know, the State Department didn't really allow for it. And then this year, they did allow for us not only to do it with kindergarten students, but also pre-K students as well. So, and I understand your question, and, you know, hopefully because they allowed it this year, they allowed us to apply for that waiver, then hopefully next year they will do the same, so parents will be acclimated to that occurring. And I do know that this is new and this is new information, but it helps, like I said, it helps the teacher to go ahead and give those assessments that are required by the State Department, and it helps the students to be better acclimated to school. You know, they're little ones, they're 4 and 5 years old, and our teachers really like, well, I remember when we did it years ago, teachers really liked the fact that they could have small groups of students coming in to test and to acclimate to the school year.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. I just wanted to say I appreciate the initiative, and for both for our students and for our staff. And I just think that for the most part, I'd like our parents to better anticipate that for next year. If you have little ones, kind of understand that may be what's best for your student to begin their learning journey. So to please be prepared for that in coming years.
Thank you. And then I just wanted to share some additional information with you about partnerships. I think at our last board meeting, committee of the whole, for the past 2 board meetings, I've been sharing different partners that we have with the school district, and I wanted to highlight a partner. Tonight, I wanted to share a partnership with Colleton Medical Center that I'm very excited about. I met with Mr. Jimmy Hyatt, the CEO of Colleton Medical Center, along with Tiffany Norton on last week, Wednesday, and they shared a plethora of resources and perks that they will offer to us and our staff this year. They're going to do monthly tips about self-care. They're going to offer access to free services such as mammograms and different things of that nature. So we're very, very excited about that partnership. And I did invite Mr. Hyatt or a representative from the medical center to come and share some of those things with you tonight. I don't see them, so they weren't able to make it, but they were very excited about the partnership. And they will be working with our lead nurse, Nurse Dingle, to make sure that those initiatives go forward and our staff takes advantage of all the wonderful things that they have. Not only medical services, but they also said that they would provide baskets and different things for children who may be needy during the holiday season, during Thanksgiving time, during Christmas time. So I'm just very excited about that partnership, and I just wanted to let you know about it. I also met with the director of Genesis Healthcare, which is a new healthcare system that's coming to Colleton County. They also offered lots of different incentives for our staff. They gave us several first aid kits, and they will be coming back to the district. They will be working with Nurse Dingle to come up with a schedule so that they will offer first aid training to our students. Now, the students won't be certified per se, but they'll have tools in their toolbox in order to assist a family member who may be in crisis and they may not know what to do. So I thought that was a great partnership. So I'm looking forward to Genesis Healthcare as well. And then the very last thing that I wanted to offer to you is, I think I've talked before about wanting to do a board retreat a little earlier than we usually do it, and being that I'm new to this position and wanting to just develop that board interim superintendent relationship with you. And I've reached out to Dr. Peters, who did our leadership retreat for all of our district leaders and our principals, and he has agreed to do the board retreat for us, and I would like to do that because it would provide continuity to what everyone is hearing from our leaders, district leaders, principals, school board. He is going to be our guest speaker at our convocation on August 4th. I think I got that right. August 4th as well. So I had to adhere to his schedule, and he does have availability on Saturday, September 30th, from 9 until 3. And I just wanted to supply that information to you now so that, in hopes that you can adjust your schedules, if you have something already planned for that day, if you can adjust your schedules, and then, we can talk about if that's going to be feasible for everyone. Okay? All right, and that ends my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Superintendent Williams, for forward planning on the September 30th. That sounds like a great event, and hearing him speak previously and at the retreat recently, he does an excellent job of bringing a team together. And he's a native of Colleton County.
Right, he is.
I have a couple of questions, Ms.
Sure.
Williams. I notice on tonight's agenda, we do not have a curriculum and instruction report. I would just ask that all of our curriculum and instruction and ESSER, I think we need those at every meeting right now, just especially curriculum and instruction, this being our last meeting before the start of school. Having said that, do we have, I asked at the last meeting about the results from summer school. Do we have that data to show the progress that we made during summer school?
I don't have the results, but yes, we do have the results because all of those decisions as far as promotion, retention, all of that have been made. I'm going through some appeals right now, and I'm adhering as closely as I can to district policy to make those decisions. But to answer your question, Mr. Irwin, we will make sure at our August meeting that there is information provided for you and the entire board on the results from our summer school efforts.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. And I guess I will ask this now because it's part of the superintendent report. And this is for you or Mr. McNeely. With school being now less than 2 weeks away, do we have any update as far as, I know we talked about the different metal detectors, machines, those things, and also anything as far as help, as far as school security officers or anything like that for the start of school? Do
you want me to address that, or do you want to address? Okay, so we have talked, we did not delve into, because I think at the last meeting you talked about potentially hiring a firm to come in and actually do that for us. We have not reached out to find out any information about that. However, I did speak to Mr. McNeely about the fact that if we have scanners that would scan our book bags, that would help with some of the manpower that we may not need to be there in the mornings. We still need the manpower. But if we had a scanner that could scan the book bags, because the book bags are not clear, they're allowed now to bring their regular book bags. But the cost of that is pretty expensive. However, I do plan in August to come to you with a detailed plan of some of our needs so that we can potentially, with your approval, amend our ESSER 3 funding budget so that we can get some of these things that we really, really need for our district to move forward and to operate properly.
Right, because I know that was part of the discussion at the last meeting as well. Were these things actually eligible through ESSER? So do we have that answer? We do have that answer?
So Dr. Reed would have to do an amendment.
Okay.
To the plan.
Okay.
And then that answer would come from, higher above to say if it's eligible. But I think it would be because it's school safety. And we've done some other things with ESSER funds for school safety as well.
Okay. Just throwing this piece of information out there, I just casually was doing some searching today, and there is a group, they have an office in Charleston and North Charleston. Please forgive me, I can't remember the name. Maybe it's the Wyndham Group. It starts with a W, I'm pretty sure. But they actually do the staffing for school security officers. And part of their qualifications in order to apply for that job is you have to have previous law enforcement or military experience. So, I definitely think there are groups out there that could help us if we choose to go in that area, just kind of FYI for something to kind of look into.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Williams?
Right. Thank you.
At this time, we'll move on to finance. Ms. Strobel?
We'll entertain the information that we need to vote on for finance tonight. So with Ms. Ramona being on vacation, who's bringing that report?
Yes, so the information was provided last week, so there's no report that's really needed tonight. Just an approval from you on those three, let me get back to it, on those three reports, the monthly revenue report, the monthly budget report, and the monthly capital project budget report. If there are any additional questions that you have, we will note those questions, and Mrs. Barrett will provide an answer for you when she returns, if you have any additional questions.
Madam Chair, I do have a additional question about the transparency report, but I don't know if you want me to hold off on that until after we vote on these financial matters, or how you would like for me to address that.
The transparency report is with regards to all expenses from the month of June.
Okay.
So the report that, a monthly budget report, I guess that would fall in, that.
So that report, because I did receive that, that report is ready. So we just need to get the report to you. You're asking for the report?
No, ma'am. I think Ms. Crosby actually sent us the link for the transparency report, and I actually have a question about something in that report. I just don't want to ask it at the inappropriate time.
No inappropriate time. There is no motion on the table right now. So if you would like to ask a question before any motion.
Maybe Ms. Crosby can, maybe Ms. Williams, you can. In that transparency report from June, there is a line item for prismatic services for $19,551.95. This board voted back in May to end all services with prismatic as of May 30th. So I'm curious as to why there is almost a $20,000 payment to prismatic services in June.
So I don't know if Ms. Crosby knows the answer to that. I'm just guessing that it could have been an outstanding invoice and not that services were rendered after the May 30th date.
Well, if I'm not
But-
mistaken, the Prismatic, we were paying $4,800 a month. So how did we get to $19,551? And
Do
I
you
understand
know-
if no one knows that, but I would like an answer to that, even if we have to wait till a later date.
Most definitely.
I pulled the information that's on my desk, I can go get it for you and provide it, but it was, this previous invoices, their billing is a little bit behind. But I don't know the exact dates, off the top of my head, but I'll be happy to go get it for you. I've got them all full.
I mean, is it going to affect the approval of any of the reports provided? Do you need that before?
Ms. Crosby, I'm probably going to vote the way I'm going to vote anyway, but can you make sure the board gets that documentation so we can see that? Thank you.
And I do have an appointment set to meet with Ms. Crosby tomorrow, so I'm going to make sure I look over that, but if other board members want to see it as well, just to be clear on the dates, like Ms. Williams said, it could have been an outstanding invoice that needed to be paid. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the monthly revenue update that we were given at our Committee of the Whole meeting on July 18th. Sorry, July 11th.
Your second?
The second?
No, I said, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Murdock. There's a motion and a second to approve the monthly revenue update as presented. Are there any questions? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Ms. Simmons? Thank you. Unanimous.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the monthly budget report that we were presented at our Committee of the Whole meeting on July 11th.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the monthly budget report as presented. Are there any questions? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
Aye.
Thank you. Approved.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the capital project budget report that was presented at our Committee of the Whole meeting for us to review on July the 11th.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the monthly capital project report as presented earlier in July. Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
Aye.
Ms. Simmons, approved. Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Strobel?
Any other questions for finance? Thank you, Ms. Williams and Ms. Barrett and Ms. Crosby for providing us those reports and making sure we get that link for the transparency every month. We appreciate that email.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Strobel. At this time, we'll move on to Human Resources. Mr. Murdock?
I'll call on Ms. Hamilton.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm not sure if y'all got my updated report.
It
With-
looks updated.
It looks like you have a
It looks
report?
updated.
It looks updated?
Yeah.
Okay, it might not be.
We'll take the numbers.
You spit
together.
out some numbers and we'll know. How about that?
So I wanted to provide you with a total number of vacancies that we have for each school and department, as you requested last week. So we have a total of 40 certified teaching vacancies that we still need to fill. We're filling those now with 24 full-mind educators, those that being virtual teachers at the high school, the middle school, one at Northside, 2 at Cottageville, 3 at Hendersonville, and 1 at, again, at Northside. We have 11 at Carlton County High School and 6 at Carlton County Middle School. The Office of Human Resources has, because we understand that parental transparency is important, we have drafted a letter and sent that letter to principals for them to share with families prior to the start of school. And then I have included vacancies per department. So in buildings and grounds, we have 27 vacancies, with the bulk being 23 custodians. And then we have one for those, for the lead maintenance specialist, the maintenance assistant, the carpenter, and then the plumber. We have 12 bus driver vacancies. And Ms. Fitch, were you able to get an update on monitors? Monitors? No. No update on monitors. And then we have 3 vacancies in the IT department. I'll entertain any questions you may have before I move on to upcoming dates.
Ms. Hamilton, I think just by the numbers you threw out, I think maybe we do not have the updated list. If we could just get that maybe emailed to us at some point, because I think what you said and what's on here is a little bit different, I believe. Can I ask, and I don't know if you know this number off the top of your head, how many teachers do we have at Colleton County High School? Like, how many true teacher positions are there overall?
I would need to
Okay.
check their staffing sheet.
Okay. And then for building and grounds, I know wouldn't be fair to ask Mr. Hamilton this question since he just started yesterday. But man, these numbers are staggering as far as custodians. I don't know how many custodians we normally have at the high school or at the middle school, but to have 6 vacancies and 8 vacancies in our custodians coming up here on the start of school. I know that earlier in the summer, whenever Mission Serve came and was housed in one of our schools, we had some issues with the facilities not being properly maintained, trash overflowing in trash cans and those kind of things, floors being dirty and stuff. Are we going to be able somehow to be ready for start of school and open house and meet the teacher and those things with these kind of vacancies at the high school and the middle school?
Yes, so these vacancies are not new. We worked all last year with these vacancies.
With this same number? Okay.
Yeah, and when we have filled some since last year. But
I got you.
Yeah, so these vacancies aren't new.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, Ms. Hamilton, this information to the board is new.
Oh,
to see
got
it this
it.
way,
Yeah.
a little bit. So, it is, it appears very alarming. And we know that, I think I just want to be able to help your department stress to the public that not only are we in need of teachers, but there are a lot of positions within our district. And I think you've done a good job of trying to communicate that. But, you can't go anywhere where people aren't, who's hiring? Right. We're hiring in all ways and for all different positions. So please consider our district. It's a great place to work.
And Mr. Irwin, just to your question, we hired students over the summer to help get buildings ready. I've heard nothing but good things. If there's anything negative, it wasn't shared with me, but I understand that the kids have been working and buildings are ready.
Well, it kind of looks like at this, we might need to
employ
keep them employed through the school year. Maybe they can have an after-school job.
Yep.
Ms. Hamilton, just one more. Forest Hills, I just saw, has 3. How many custodial positions do we have at elementary schools? 3 is probably about that number, isn't it?
It varies on location, and I will say that hirings have happened since this report.
Okay.
Well, recommendation, I know for that specific school has happened, so I think it may have been reduced by 1.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Ms. Hamilton, I want to congratulate you and your staff under Superintendent Williams' leadership. The district awards program you did on Thursday evening was phenomenal, and you could tell it was a group effort, very nicely done, and I felt that they all appreciated the services and the awards, and hats off to those that were our lead people. And also the new teachers orientation, or new employees today, was very successful as well, as y'all had it organized with the different departments helping. It was a lot of teamwork.
Yes, ma'am.
So thanks for all that.
Sure.
I know that there's a lot of extra planning that's gone in to make those things happen.
Thanks. Anybody else?
I just wanted to ask a question about Full Mind, which is our virtual learning platform. We've changed a couple times on that, and if I don't know if I've heard Full Mind before. Is that
So
new?
Full Mind is is formerly iTutor.
Okay.
They changed their name, but
Good
we
to
stay
know.
with the same vendor
Okay, great.
for continuity. And we have some of the same teachers who are already familiar with our processes and procedures as a district, so that was helpful.
Gotcha. I just kind of wanted to address what I think is, might be a concern for parents, and that is, that this is not new. This is a company that we've worked with before.
Sure.
So that's reassuring. We know what we're getting, and we know what adjustments may need to be made if needed. And to reassure parents, I think it's wonderful that we're already planning for communication to parents ahead of time. So if that's going to be a situation that your child is in, don't worry, you'll be notified. So it's not like, Johnny's coming home telling you one thing and something else has happened at school. We'll make sure that we communicate that to parents as they move forward.
And I just wanted to reiterate right here too, the meetings that I said that I had with all building level principals, we talked about all of these vacancies and what they were going to do, what they were going to put in place. And if they had to have a virtual teacher in the classroom, they were making sure that they paired that virtual teacher with a very strong assistant, classified staff member to be in that particular classroom. So I really feel good. I don't feel good about the number of vacancies that we have, but I really feel good about the plan that's in place to make sure that all students get what they need during the school year.
Ms. Hamilton, can I just ask one more quick for clarification? So like on the Colleton County High School where it says 11 filled by full mind, 5 true vacancies.
That means we haven't filled those. if it
Right,
says
right.
5.
So, so does that mean, like, by the start of school, if we haven't filled those 5, would that change the number of full mind?
Potentially. And some of these are sped teacher vacancies, which I know that they are contracting those services as well.
Okay.
So it may be a virtual teacher in special ed classrooms as well through the Office of Exceptional Learning.
And we can do that with all of the IEPs and the legalities and all of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hamilton.
You're welcome.
Was there success with any of our retired teachers?
Not yet. No success yet. We do have one that's coming back to help in the media center at the middle school, part-time. So, yeah.
One's better than?
Yeah, that's right.
And the arrival of our foreign teachers, are we on track?
We are on track. There's some delays, and without me getting into personnel matters, but we have some delays at both the high school and the middle school. But we have a plan to cover until they get here. And so I'm glad you asked that question, Ms. Strobel, because we do have some international teachers who will be joining us second semester, so a full mind educator will be in place until that person gets here. But so that instruction can happen and start and continue throughout the first semester, we wanted to go ahead and hire that service of a full mind certified educator. And just for the public, Full Mind is totally our teachers. They come to all of our meetings. They go to IEP meetings. They will be available doing open house virtually to ask questions. They take care of the grade book, all of that. So they're our teachers. They teach our curriculum. Just wanted to give you an update. Ms. Strobel alluded to the Teacher of the Year, Support Employee of the Year banquet. I thought it went very, very well. Congratulations to our winners, Mr. Carlos Hamlin and Ms. Kimberly Wood. Carlos was named the Support Employee of the Year, and Kimberly Wood was named the Teacher of the Year for the district. Today we hosted our new staff, our new employee orientation. We had about 60 participants. They were so complimentary just about our hospitality and how nice we were. So that just brought me joy. So they're excited. They're getting settled. And then tomorrow we'll continue, and it'll be curriculum and instruction. And Ms. Hedden and Tracy has done a great job with heading and leading that cause and planning with the content specialist for active engagement for the remainder of the week. And then our teachers return on July 31st. Any additional questions for me?
This feels like an HR, so I want to say thank you to Forest Hills for the memorial service that they were able to hold for the two students that passed away. It was a very nice memorial, and it brought a lot of closure for the teachers to be able to speak, and the planting of the plants that y'all had done with the oak tree and the plaque. So if you have a chance to go by Forest Hills, there's a beautiful plaque there for those two students, and the things that were said by the teachers were remarkable, and the family appreciated it. So thanks to those that helped to make that a success for that family and for that staff, as well as those that helped with the memorial on Saturday. I'm sure there was extra work that went into make that a beautiful celebration of life.
Thank you, Ms. Strobel, for mentioning that. I just wanted to ask a quick question about the unencumbered time that, for our staff and for the elementary levels. Do we still have positions available if people are interested in applying
Sure.
for that?
Prior to me coming down, I just sent 2 applications out to principals so they can go ahead and vet those, and if they're interested, go ahead and start interviewing.
Gotcha.
But I think we're good on the coverage for unencumbered time.
Terrific, good to hear. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hamilton. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Murdock. I'll entertain a motion that we enter into executive session. Upon returning to open session, action may be taken by the board on the items discussed during executive session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion we enter into executive session for item 10.01, discussion of employment matters regarding hirings, 10.02, discussion and receipt of legal advice regarding contractual and property matters, 10.03, discussion of regarding employment matter, 10.04, receipt of legal advice regarding policy JICA, student dress code, student dress articles and displays, and item 10.05, student admittance release, SC Code of Laws, section 30-4-70.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to enter into executive session for the items just read. Are there any questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. We're now in executive session.
said?
What's that?
All I want to do is go home.
Oh, no, Miss Sim,
Yes.
Out there. Well, did you get your coffee?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. They coming to get me.
hey, Miss Simmons, I'm putting you on now, okay?
Huh?
I'm gonna leave mine here in front.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready?
Oh, there go my kid.
I'll entertain a motion that we enter back into open session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we enter back into open session.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. We're now back into open session.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the one staff separation that we were presented in executive session.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to accept the one staff separation as presented this evening. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Opposed? 5-2.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we accept the 8 items that were given to us for staff employment.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the recommendations for staff employment. Is there any question? Are there any questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Approved.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the student transfer request recommendations for release numbers 1 through 8, and also the recommendations for admittance number 1 through 5.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the student admittance and releases as presented. Are there any questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. At this time, I entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Madam Chair, I make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
You ain't gonna do the second reading on that policy?
No policy, second reading?
Oh, we gotta do that next week.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.